The night they forgot who she was. The sun was just beginning to kiss the horizon, brushing the sky with streaks of orange and soft lavender, as Danielle Graves steered her silver sedan down a quiet suburban road in Virginia. It was the kind of road she'd driven countless times before, lined with modest, well-kept lawns, American flags fluttering lazily from porches, and mailbox clusters that leaned with age. Just 10 miles to go before she'd be home in Arlington. At 43, Danielle was the deputy director of the FBI's Northern Virginia field office, a position earned through grit, integrity, and decades of uncompromising dedication. Her life defined by late-night crisis calls, grueling counterintelligence operations, and high-stakes political pressure, rarely afforded moments like these: a calm drive, leftovers in the fridge, and a long-overdue episode of her favorite true crime podcast queued up for the evening. She kept the speed at a steady 35 miles per hour, well within the posted limit. Every turn was signaled, every stop honored. Her driving, like her life, was discipline polished by years of knowing that one misstep, one perceived wrong move, could be judged more harshly when you were a black woman in America. As she passed under a streetlight, the flash of red and blue in her rearview mirror snapped her out of her thoughts. A police siren hooped once, a short signal telling her to pull over. Danielle's jaw tightened. Not in fear, she'd been in rooms negotiating with cartel informants and international operatives. But this wasn't that. This was personal in a way that made her pulse thrum beneath her skin. She hadn't broken a law, hadn't swerved, hadn't so much as touched the white line on the shoulder. Still, she signaled and pulled off carefully, the tires crunching softly over the gravel. She turned on her interior, light, another habit ingrained through decades of training and survival, and kept both hands visible on the wheel. Calm, controlled. A textbook example of how to de-escalate, even when you're not the one escalating. Footsteps approached from the rear. A flashlight beam swung into her cabin, bright and deliberate. The officer looked to be in his late 20s, white, clean-shaven, with a tight expression that already seemed irritated. His badge caught the light. Officer Matthew Rains. Danielle rolled down the window, smoothly. "Good evening, officer," she said, voice calm but firm. "Is there a problem?" Officer Rains tilted his head as though sizing her up, then replied flatly, "License and registration. No greeting. No explanation. Just demand." Danielle didn't move. "Before I reach for anything," she said carefully, "could you please tell me why I was pulled over?" Rain's flashlight didn't budge. "Your car looked out of place." Her brow furrowed. "Out of place?" she repeated. "I was driving the speed limit. I used every turn signal. I'd like to know what I did to justify a stop." He shifted his stance. "Look," he said sharply, "I don't need a reason to ask for your ID. Just hand it over. Don't make this difficult." Danielle's grip on the wheel tightened, but her expression remained neutral. She trained FBI agents on how to handle threats, had drafted national de-escalation protocols. She knew exactly what was happening, and it wasn't about a traffic infraction. Still, she moved slowly, deliberately, pulling her wallet from the center console. She held her ID and registration in her hand, not offering them just yet. "Officer Rains," she said, reading his name again, "you do need a lawful reason to stop someone. If you can't provide one, this is not just unethical, it's unlawful." His body tensed. "You're not the one giving orders here," he barked. "You think just cause you're calm, I'm supposed to trust you? I'll ask one more time. Give me the license or I'll drag you out." The threat cut through the night air. Her heart raced, but her voice remained steady. "I'm not refusing, officer. I'm asking for the law to be followed. If you can't provide a valid cause, then you're overstepping your authority." Rain stepped closer, his flashlight now inches from her face, his other hand casually hovering near his belt. The message was clear. "Fairness?" he scoffed. "You don't decide what's fair. Keep talking, and you'll see what happens." Danielle took a breath. Her instinct screamed that this moment was shifting. One wrong movement, one flick of the wrist, and the night could spiral out of control. But she also knew that giving in wasn't an option. She nodded subtly toward her phone mounted on the dashboard. Its small red recording light was already blinking. "I'm recording this encounter," she said, her tone calm but unmistakably resolute. Rain's jaw twitched. "You think that scares me?" he sneered, though his voice now held a tremor. "I'm the authority here. Get out of the car." He rapped his knuckles on the doorframe hard. The sound cracked like a warning shot in the otherwise still night. "I don't feel safe exiting the vehicle," Danielle replied, unmoved. "And you haven't given a lawful reason for this stop." Rain's patience shattered. In one fluid motion, he reached for his holster and pulled his sidearm, leveling it directly through the open window aimed squarely at her chest. "Now," he shouted. "Out of the car." Danielle's heart slammed in her chest, but her expression remained poised. Her hand stayed up, visible. "Officer Rains," she said slowly, clearly, "you are violating the law. I am a citizen, unarmed, unthreatening. You are pointing a loaded weapon at someone who has complied. Lower your weapon." Immediately, he hesitated. A twitch in his eye betrayed his nerves. "I'm making a call," Danielle added. She moved one hand toward the dash, her movements deliberate. "I'm contacting your supervisor." Rains didn't stop her. She tapped the screen. The phone rang once. Then again. A gravelly voice picked up. "Sheriff's office. This is Danielle Graves, Deputy Director of the FBI, Northern Virginia Field Office," she said without flinching. "I'm being held at gunpoint by Officer Matthew Rains on Route 16 near mile marker 78. I've been stopped without cause. Everything is being recorded." There was a pause. Then, "We're en route." Rain's face drained of color. You're FBI?" Danielle didn't blink. "You had no idea who I was. But that's not the point. The point is you were ready to shoot an unarmed woman who asked for a reason." In the distance, sirens began to wail. Lights flickered over the crest of the hill. Within minutes, a sheriff's vehicle screeched up behind the cruiser. Captain Leonard Stroud stepped out, stone-faced, taking in the scene. He saw the gun. He saw Danielle. He saw the red recording light blinking on the dash. "Rains," he barked, "holster your weapon. Now." The officer flinched, finally lowering the gun. His hands trembled as he fumbled it back into the holster. "Sir," she was resisting. Shesh wouldn't comply. "She's FBI," Stroud growled. "And she's still alive because she kept her cool. You're done." He turned to Danielle. "Deputy Director Graves, are you all right?" Danielle nodded. "I am unharmed. But this cannot be swept under the rug." "It won't be," Stroud promised. He suspended, effective immediately. Rains was placed in cuffs by his own department. Danielle drove away that night, the weight of what had nearly happened sitting heavy on her chest. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just kept driving past the dark homes, the playgrounds, the quiet cul-de-sacs back to her life. But she knew she couldn't let it end there. The next morning, Danielle filed a full report with the Bureau and shared the video with the sheriff's office. Local news picked it up by noon. Headlines blared. FBI Deputy Director held at gunpoint in traffic stop. Public outrage exploded. Hundreds shared similar stories of profiling and threats, of guns drawn without cause, of fear on roads that should have been safe. The sheriff's office launched an investigation. Internal Affairs verified the footage. Rains was charged with misconduct, unlawful detainment, and reckless endangerment. The trial drew national attention. In court, the video played again and again. Danielle testified with the same composure she showed that night, her voice unwavering as she recounted every moment. The jury found Rains guilty. He was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison and permanently barred from law enforcement. But for Danielle, the real victory was yet to come. She met with lawmakers. She lobbied for policy changes, mandatory dash cams, external oversight boards, and federal standard for traffic stops. Her efforts sparked real reform across Virginia. Months later, standing at a press conference, she addressed the crowd. "This isn't about a badge," she said. "It's about the person behind it, and whether they choose to protect or to threaten." I stood my ground that night, not because I'm FBI, but because I'm human. Danielle Graves had faced down a gun without flinching. But more than thatched, turned that moment into momentum, into justice, into change. And somewhere in a high school civics class, a young black girl who watched it all unfold whispered to herself, "I want to be like her." Not because Danielle was powerful, but because she didn't let fear write the ending. She did.